New Canada Employment Insurance Rules effective April 2025. Canada is making headlines this April with a series of major developments affecting workers, immigrants, and international students. From new employment insurance rules taking effect nationwide to Manitoba's targeted work permits for provincial nominee program candidates, these updates could reshape job and migration opportunities. Meanwhile, a troubling incident involving a U.S. citizen detained at the border and Canada topping the charts as the most desired study destination in 2025 are sparking conversations across the globe. Canada's employment insurance program has undergone new, significant changes intended to ease support for workers in 2025. With temporary measures effective from April 1, 2025, the Government of Canada has introduced reforms to make EI benefits more accessible, offering critical relief to Canadians navigating job loss or economic shifts. From waiving waiting periods to adjusting unemployment rates, these updates are impacting millions of workers across the country. Here's everything you need to know about the new EI rules, how they work, and what they mean for you. Why are these EI changes happening? Canada's economy is facing unique challenges in 2025, driven by global economic shifts and evolving trade relationships, particularly with the United States. The government has introduced these temporary EI measures to act as a safety net for workers affected by layoffs, reduced hours, or industry disruptions. According to recent data, Canada's unemployment rate has fluctuated in key regions, prompting policymakers to enhance EI access to stabilize household incomes. These reforms aim to Z-notation spot improve access to EI benefits for both regular and fishing claimants. Z-notation spot reduce financial strain during job transitions. Z-notation spot support regional economies hit hardest by economic changes. Whether you're a full-time employee, a seasonal worker, or a self-employed fisher, these changes could make a significant difference in your financial security. Let's break down the key updates. 1. Faster access to EI benefits. One of the most significant changes is the temporary waiver of the EI waiting period for new claims. Normally, when you apply for EI benefits, there's a 1-week period during which you're not paid, similar to a deductible in other insurance programs. This waiting period can create financial stress for workers who rely on immediate income after job loss. What's changing? Z-notation spot for all new EI claims starting between March 30, 2025, and October 11, 2025, the waiting period is eliminated. Z-notation spot. This means you'll receive your EI benefit sooner, helping you cover essentials like rent, groceries, or bills without delay. Who benefits? This change applies to all EI claimants, including regular EI claimants, e.g., workers who've lost their jobs through no fault of their own. Special benefits claimants, e.g., those applying for maternity, parental, or sickness benefits. Fishing benefits claimants, self-employed fishers. Is there a catch? In rare cases, you might choose to serve the waiting period if you're receiving a supplemental unemployment benefit plan top-up from your employer. An SUB plan supplements EI payments, and serving the waiting period could maximize your overall benefits. Speak with your employer or Service Canada to determine what's best for your situation. Pro tip: if you're unsure whether this waiver applies to you, check your eligibility on the Government of Canada's EI website or contact Service Canada at 1-800-206-7218. 2. Keep more of your benefits. Another game changer is the suspension of separation earnings allocation for EI claims starting between March 30, 2025, and October 11, 2025. This measure ensures that money you receive when leaving a job doesn't reduce your EI benefits. What are separation earnings? Separation earnings are payments you might receive when you leave a job, either temporarily or permanently. These can include 1. Vacation pay. 2. Pay in lieu of notice. 3. Severance pay. 4. Closure bonuses. 5. Sick leave credits. Under normal EI rules, these earnings are allocated to the weeks following your separation, reducing the amount of EI benefits you receive during that time. This can delay or lower your payments, creating financial uncertainty. What's changing? 1. For claims starting between March 30, 2025, and October 11, 2025, separation earnings won't be deducted from your EI benefits. 2. This means you'll receive your full EI payments alongside any separation earnings, giving you more financial flexibility during your transition. Why it matters. For many Canadians, separation payments are a lifeline after job loss. By suspending allocation, the government is ensuring that these funds don't interfere with your ability to collect EI benefits. This could mean thousands of dollars in additional support for workers, especially in industries like manufacturing, retail, or hospitality, where layoffs are common. Example, Sarah, a retail worker in Ontario, is laid off in April 2025 and receives $2,000 in severance pay. Under the old rules, this severance would reduce her EI benefits for several weeks. With the new rules, Sarah keeps her full EI payments and the severance, helping her stay afloat while she searches for a new job. 3. Making easier to qualify in your region. The third major change involves adjusting unemployment rates in certain regions to make it easier to qualify for EI benefits. This temporary measure applies to claims starting between April 6, 2025, and July 12, 2025, and it's designed to support workers in regions with lower unemployment rates. How EI eligibility works. To qualify for EI regular benefits, you need a certain number of insurable hours worked in the last 52 weeks, or since your last EI claim. For fishing benefits, you need a minimum amount of insurable earnings. The exact requirements depend on the unemployment rate in your EI economic region, which is determined by your postal code. Regions with higher unemployment rates have lower qualification thresholds, while regions with lower unemployment rates require more hours or earnings. This system can disadvantage workers in economically stable areas, even if they face job loss. What's changing? To level the playing field, the government is temporarily adjusting unemployment rates for regions with rates below 13.1%. Here's how it works. 1. 6.1% or less, the rate is set to 7.1%. 2. 6.2% to 12%, the rate is increased by 1%. 3. 12.1% to 13%, the rate is set to 13.1%. 4. 13.1% or higher, no change. You can find your region's unemployment rate by using the EI Economic Region by Postal Code tool. New qualification requirements. These adjusted rates lower the bar for qualifying for EI benefits. Here's a breakdown of the minimum requirements under the temporary measure. Table here. Why this matters. This adjustment is a lifeline for workers in regions with historically low unemployment rates, such as parts of Alberta or Ontario, where qualifying for EI can be tougher. By artificially raising the unemployment rate, the government is reducing the hours or earnings needed, making EI more accessible to thousands of Canadians. Example, John, a construction worker in Calgary, lives in a region with a 5.8% unemployment rate. Normally, he'd need 700 hours to qualify for EI regular benefits. Under the temporary measure, his region's rate is adjusted to 7.1%, lowering his requirement to 630 hours. This makes it easier for John to access benefits after a seasonal layoff. Who qualifies for these EI changes? The temporary EI measures apply to a wide range of workers, but eligibility depends on your situation. Here's a quick guide. Regular EI benefits. 1. You've lost your job through no fault of your own, e.g., layoffs, seasonal work ending. 2. You've worked the required number of insurable hours in the last 52 weeks, based on your region's adjusted unemployment rate. 3. You're available and actively looking for work. Fishing benefits. 1. You're a self-employed fisher who meets the earnings threshold for your region. 2. You've earned the required insurable earnings from fishing in the last 31 weeks. Special benefits. 1. You're applying for maternity, parental, sickness, compassionate care, or family caregiver benefits. 2. The waiting period waiver applies, but other qualification rules remain unchanged. 3. If you're unsure about your eligibility, use the EI eligibility tool or call Service Canada for personalized advice. How these changes could impact you. The new EI rules are designed to provide immediate relief and long-term stability for Canadian workers. Here's how they could affect different groups. Laid-off workers. Faster benefits. With the waiting period waived, you'll get your first EI payment sooner, potentially within 28 days of applying. More money. Suspending separation earnings allocation means you keep severance or vacation pay without losing EI benefits. Easier access. Adjusted unemployment rates lower the hours needed to qualify, especially in stable regions. Seasonal workers. Fishing communities. Fishers benefit from lower earnings thresholds, making it easier to qualify during off-seasons. Construction and tourism. Workers in seasonal industries can access benefits more quickly, bridging income gaps. New parents and caregivers. Maternity and parental benefits. The waiting period waiver applies, so you'll receive payments right away. Compassionate care. Caregivers can focus on loved ones without worrying about delayed benefits. Small business owners. While these changes primarily target employees and fishers, small business owners who pay into EI voluntarily may also benefit from special benefits, e.g., maternity or sickness. How to apply for EI benefits in 2025. Applying for EI is straightforward, but preparation is key to avoid delays. Follow these steps to get started. Check your eligibility. 1. Confirm you meet the requirements for regular, fishing, or special benefits. 2. Use the EI Economic Region tool to find your region's adjusted unemployment rate. Gather documents. 1. Record of employment from your employer, submitted electronically or as a paper copy. 2. Social insurance number. 3. Banking information for direct deposit. 4. Details of separation earnings, if applicable. Apply online. 1. Visit the Service Canada website and log in to your My Service Canada account. 2. Complete the EI application, selecting the appropriate benefit type. 3. Submit your application as soon as possible after your last day of work. Monitor your claim. 1. Check your account for updates or requests for additional information. 2. Submit bi-weekly reports to confirm your eligibility, e.g., hours worked, job search activities. Contact Service Canada. If you have questions, call 1-800-206-7218 or visit a Service Canada office. Tip: apply for EI even if you're unsure about eligibility. Service Canada will assess your claim, and you may qualify for more benefits than you expect. What's next for EI in Canada? The temporary measures are set to expire by October 11, 2025, for most changes, with the unemployment rate adjustment ending on July 12, 2025. However, advocates are calling for permanent reforms to address gaps in the EI system, such as Z-notation spot lowering qualification thresholds for all regions. Z-notation spot extending benefit durations for long-term unemployed workers. Z-notation spot expanding coverage for gig workers and self-employed Canadians. As Canada navigates economic uncertainties, the government may introduce additional supports or extend these measures beyond 2025. The new EI rules are a lifeline for workers across Canada, and spreading the word can help ensure everyone benefits. Share this article on social media, email it to friends and family, or discuss it with coworkers. Together, we can help Canadians navigate these changes and secure the support they deserve. For the latest updates, visit canada.ca or follow Service Canada on X. Frequently asked questions. When do the new EI rules start? The waiting period waiver and separation earnings suspension apply to claims effective March 30, 2025. The unemployment rate adjustment applies to claims effective April 6, 2025. How do you know my region's unemployment rate? Use the EI Economic Region by Postal Code tool to find your region's rate and adjusted rate under the temporary measure. Can you still serve the waiting period? Yes, if you're receiving a Supplemental Unemployment Benefit (SUB) plan top-up, you may choose to serve the waiting period to maximize your benefits. Contact Service Canada for guidance. Do these changes affect EI special benefits? The waiting period waiver applies to special benefits, e.g., maternity, parental, sickness, but other rules remain unchanged. What if I have an EI violation? Violations, e.g., for misrepresentation, may require you to meet higher hours or earnings thresholds. Check your EI file with Service Canada to confirm. Special work permits will be available for Manitoba PNP candidates. Some Manitoba Provincial Nominee Program candidates will be able to obtain work permits to prevent them from losing their status. These special Manitoba-specific work permits can be issued for up to 2 years. To qualify, a Manitoba PNP candidate must 1. Hold a work permit which will expire within 45 days, or have held a work permit which expired in 2024 or 2025. 2. Have been continuously residing in Manitoba since before January 15, 2025. 3. Have had on January 15, 2025 a valid MPNP expression of interest profile, and still have a valid profile. And 4. Have a letter of employment from their current employer in Manitoba. They must also meet additional program criteria established by the federal government, see below. The MPNP will begin to accept applications for these work permits starting April 22, 2025. If an MPNP candidate qualifies, they can apply online to the MPNP for a support letter, which they will use in their work permit application to Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada. Applications for these work permits will be open until December 31, 2025, at which time the federal government's temporary public policy is set to expire. Manitoba Labour and Immigration Minister Malaya Marcelino announced the forthcoming availability of these work permits on April 15, 2025. Foreign nationals who have already received a letter of advice to apply to the Manitoba PNP are not eligible for this special work permit. These work permits will be issued in accordance with IRCC's temporary public policy to facilitate work permits for prospective provincial nominee program candidates. Federal requirements. IRCC's temporary public policy allowing certain PNP candidates to apply for an open work permit was introduced on August 11, 2024. MPNP candidates must also meet some additional requirements of the temporary public policy established by the federal government, which may be summarized as holding a valid work permit. 1. Having held a work permit on May 7, 2024 that has since expired, and having since either applied for an extension of authorization or restoration of status, or 2. Having held maintained status on May 7, 2024, and having submitted a work permit extension application permit prior to this date with the application being currently pending or having been approved. 3. You can get more detailed information surrounding this federal eligibility criteria by visiting one of our previous articles delving into this temporary public policy. How to apply for consideration. Those who meet the above-mentioned eligibility criteria may apply for a support letter by completing an online submission form, which will become available on April 22, 2025. To be eligible, you must provide a copy of your expression of interest profile and a letter of employment from your current employer. You will also need to attach a copy of one of the following pieces of documentation. 1. Your current work permit. 2. Proof of authorization to work, or 3. Proof that, as of May 7, 2024, you held a valid work permit and have since applied for restoration of your temporary resident status, under Section 182 of Immigration and Refugee Protection Regulations. 4. If you do not meet the eligibility criteria or have failed to provide adequate documentation, your application will be rejected. Note, you are not guaranteed to receive a support letter even if you are eligible, as Manitoba retains the authority to restrict the quantity of issuances at its discretion. Rational. IRCC and Manitoba want to allow workers contributing to Manitoba's economy to retain their work authorization while they are under consideration as PNP candidates through the MPNP. While bridging open work permits are often available for those who have submitted PR applications, no such special work permit existed for PNP candidates. Given how long it can take for a foreign national to move from a candidate to a PR applicant, many are at risk of losing their work authorization. For example, if their post-graduation work permit expires, or if they are unable to renew their temporary foreign worker program work permit due to the moratorium on processing of labor market impact assessments for low-wage positions. The temporary public policy was created to allow provinces to help bridge the gap in work status for PNP candidates actively working in provinces and at risk of losing their status. By allowing eligible candidates to extend their work permits, we're helping more Manitoba workers and families to continue building their lives in Manitoba, Marcelino stated in a press release. This is good news for our economy, businesses, and communities across Manitoba. U.S. citizen says he and his wife detained without explanation after returning from Canada. An American citizen says he and his wife were detained for hours by U.S. border agents when they returned to the United States after a short trip to Canada. Bashir Attallah told CNN he and his wife, Jessica, were driving back into the U.S. Sunday evening after visiting family in Canada for the weekend when U.S. Customs and Border Patrol agents stopped them for a secondary inspection at the Highgate Springs checkpoint in Vermont. Attallah, who is originally from Lebanon, said he was told to park his Range Rover and hand over his keys. When he asked the officer why, the officer placed his hand on his gun and told him to exit his vehicle, Attallah said. He said he was then handcuffed and led into a cell, where his belongings were confiscated. He said his wife was put into a cell across from his. Seeing my wife's mascara running because she was crying, it was heartbreaking, Attallah said. It wasn't humane. While detained, Attallah said he gave CBP agents the passcode to his phone after they asked for it. Despite his pleadings, agents never told him why he and his wife were being detained, he said. He said he was never read his rights. The traveler's accusations are blatantly false and sensationalized, CBP officials said in a statement to CNN affiliate MER. CBP officers acted in accordance with established protocols. Upon arrival at the port of entry, the traveler was appropriately referred to secondary inspection, a routine, lawful process that occurs daily and can apply for any traveler. A mass deportation campaign by the White House has sparked fear as it aims to slow arrivals at the border and remove undocumented immigrants. President Donald Trump has also threatened to send certain U.S. citizens to offshore prisons, a notion experts say has no legal basis. I feared for my life, Attallah said. Without answers as to what was going on, Attallah said he started to have chest pains and felt dizzy, and told CBP to call an ambulance. A record reviewed by CNN shows emergency medical services evaluated Attallah around 8 p.m. Sunday night. Attallah said he was told by CBP if he went to the emergency room, an officer would accompany him and then return him to the cell to start the entire process from the beginning. He said he chose to stay, not to leave his wife. Atala said after he was first handcuffed, he told officers to call his lawyer, his sister Celine Atala, who works as an immigration attorney. A person identifying himself as an officer at U.S. Customs and Border Patrol left a voicemail message on Celine's phone close to 9 p.m., informing her Atala and his wife were at Highgate Springs CBP, they were safe and they would be here for a little while, the message said. He wanted my help, not to know that he's fine, Celine Atala said in an interview. Bachir and Jessica left around 11 p.m. Sunday, he said. Canada tops 2025 survey as most desired study abroad destination. Canada is the top study destination for international students by weighted average, according to a recent survey. Of the future international students surveyed, 94% showed some degree of interest in studying in Canada, the highest of all countries garnering interest. In fact, 65% reported that they were only considering one or more of the select 6 countries expanded on further below as their study destination, Canada included. This reflects an increase of 8 percentage points compared with the previous year's spring survey. Apply Board published the results of their spring 2025 edition of their Student Pulse survey on March 26, 2025. Canada continues to be among the 4 most desirable countries in the eyes of international students, the others being the United States, United Kingdom, and Australia. These together are referred to as the Big Four. With the following options presented to them, more students indicated they were very interested and moderately interested in studying in Canada than in any the other country in the Big Four. While the US outperformed Canada in the spring 2025 survey by 3 percentage points when it came to those extremely interested in a study destination, Canada came out on top overall when interest was averaged across all levels. Compared to the spring 2024 Student Pulse survey, those very interested in Canada as a study destination went up 2 percentage points, while moderate interest went from 8% in the spring 2024 survey to 12% this year, a 4% jump. Canada also stood out with the lowest share of students indicating no interest in studying there, 6%, whereas other countries saw higher levels of disinterest. In addition to the other top 3 study destinations mentioned above, Germany and Ireland secured 5th and 6th place. Below is a snapshot detailing how Canada ranked among the top countries future students indicated interested in. Survey results showed that only 35% of contributors are considering studying at international destination outside these 6 countries. The top factors driving student interest. When considering which study program to choose, and which country to pursue it in, the top 5 factors influencing future students' decisions included the following. 1. Affordable tuition fees, 77%. 2. High graduate employment rate, 57%. 3. A program leading into one's chosen career, 49%. 4. High quality teaching, 47%, and 5. The program's reputation, 45%. Affordability was particularly important to participants when selecting a study program and study destination. Due to financial concerns, just over 1 in 4 international students were rethinking their original study destinations and considering alternatives. Making up 7 of the top 10 write-ins, European countries such as Denmark, Finland, and the Netherlands stood out as alternatives to the top 6 destinations mentioned earlier, with participants highlighting their lower tuition costs as a major draw. Furthermore, 11.3% of survey respondents are looking into shorter programs, such as 3-year bachelor's degrees, to skirt high tuition costs. Despite concerns over cost, only 9% plan to defer their studies to a later date. Levels of study seeing the most interest. Compared to the spring 2024 Student Pulse survey, international students have shown an increased level of interest in graduate programs. Over half of respondents, 57%, have indicated they're considering pursuing a master's degree, reflecting an approximate increase of 7 percentage points since spring 2024. As for PhDs or other doctoral degrees, interest has risen by 4 percentage points year over year. The remaining levels of study have seen decreased interest, though a larger number of students have indicated they're considering pursuing them. 1. Undergraduate degrees, 29.3% versus 25.5%. 2. Postgraduate certificates or diplomas, 20.9% versus 18%, and 3. Undergraduate certificates or diplomas, 14.7% versus 12%. Once their studies were complete, the most frequently mentioned career or related keywords that students were interested in included 1. Engineering, and 2. Nursing, along with, more generally, healthcare. 3. After the above-mentioned careers, lecturer, researcher, and human resources tied for 3rd place. Have government and policy changes impacted interest? the federal government's new policy of capping study permit applications does not appear to have reduced interest in Canada as a study destination. The number of study permits approved in 2025 dropped to 437,000, in comparison to the 517,410 study permits approved in 2024. Meanwhile, 30% of international students report that their interest in studying in Canada has increased as a result of recent changes, while 18% report it as having somewhat increased. Just under 29% of international students have expressed that recent government and policy changes have had no impact on their interest in Canada as a study destination. This makes good sense. With it now being more difficult to obtain a Canadian study permit, the value and prestige of studying in Canada as an international student has increased. Furthermore, fewer international student graduates means a less competitive job market for those intending to remain in Canada working on a post-graduation work permit after having completed their studies. Canada, along with the US, are the two countries making up the Big Four that have seen policy and government changes having the greatest impact, positive or negative, on student interest to study in either of these locations. How to apply for a study permit. If you want to study at a Canadian learning institution for more than 6 months, you must obtain a study permit from Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. Getting a study permit requires meeting certain eligibility criteria outlined by IRCC. 1. Receiving a letter of acceptance from a designated learning institution. 1. Securing a provincial attestation letter from the province or territory where your chosen DLI is located, unless you meet exemption criteria. 2. Proving your ability to financially support yourself, along with any applicable family members, and pay for Zenotation Spot first-year tuition, Zenotation Spot living expenses, and Zenotation Spot round-trip travel costs. Additionally, you must not be inadmissible to Canada, e.g. criminally or medically, and must satisfy an immigration officer of your genuine temporary resident intent. Most foreign nationals must apply for a study permit from outside Canada. Some foreign nationals, such as U.S. citizens, are eligible to apply for study permits from within Canada or at a port of entry. Note, processing times for study permits can vary due to numerous factors, including the country you are applying from. You can check estimates here. Study to immigrate pathways. If you graduate from an eligible Canadian post-secondary institution, you may qualify for a post-graduation work permit. These are open work permits, meaning that they do not tie you to a specific employer. As a holder of an open work permit, you're authorized to work for most employers for most industries in Canada. Such permits can be issued for up to 3 years in duration, depending on the length of your study program, allowing you to accumulate Canadian work experience and/or acquire a job offer. Having Canadian work experience is beneficial in that it allows you to become a more competitive candidate for permanent residency under Canada's economic immigration pathways, including express entry and enhanced provincial nominee program streams. Consider the following for express entry. If you're issued a PGWP for its full length, 3 years, and you work during that time, you can gain 64 points towards your comprehensive ranking system score. Furthermore, through skill transferability factors you can gain Zenotation Spot up to 50 CRS points for having at least 2 years of Canadian work experience and a post-secondary education, and Zenotation Spot up to 50 CRS points for having 3 years of foreign work experience and 2 or more years of Canadian work experience. If your plan is to study to immigrate, take the time to ensure your program indeed meets the eligibility requirements to be issued a PGWP. You have up to 180 days after you graduate to apply for a PGWP. As Canada continues to evolve its policies on employment, immigration, and international education, staying informed is more important than ever. Whether you're a job seeker eyeing Manitoba's special work permits, an international student planning your next move, or someone watching how cross-border policies unfold, these updates are shaping the future of life and opportunity in Canada. Keep following for the latest developments that matter to you. That is all for today, in this video. What are your thoughts on this? Please let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching the entire video. Hopefully, the information is useful to you. See you later, in the next video. Till then, take care.